Hi everybody, this is Jeremy Siskind. I am the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals and of Playing Solo Jazz Piano. I'll be happy to sell you a copy over at jeremysiskind.com. But the focus of today is on ear training exercises. I got a request in one of the YouTube comments and I realized I've been neglecting that on the channel. In my experience working with private students, the best indicator of how fast growth is going to be in a student is how good their ear is. How well are they recognizing notes? How well are they able to match pitch? How well can they get something that's in their head out? It's a long journey, I'm not going to lie, to improve your ear, but it is very much possible. And I'm going to show you some of the exercises that I think are most useful. Some of these exercises are in Jazz Piano Fundamentals, so if you like that, be sure to check that book out. So, my favorite ear training exercises. The first thing, so I'm going to be using just the first 4 measures of Honeysuckle Rose here. Not difficult changes at all. It's just 2-5, 2-5, and then a long 2-5 in F. Okay. Now, before we really can do anything else orally, we need to be able to sing the bass line. And here's a moment where I apologize to you. I am not a singer. I do not have a good voice. I do not have a big range in my voice. So I apologize. You're going to have to listen to me. But hopefully it will be, at least a little bit of a model if you're shy about singing. It's so necessary because it's really the way to test whether or not what you're hearing in your head is matching what's coming out on your instrument. So singing is really that bridge between what's in your inner ear and then what's actually out in the world. So I would say before you do anything else, I would really make sure that you're able to sing the bass line to whatever tune you're playing. That is so key because everything is built off of those root notes. So if we're starting here on Honeysuckle Rose, that's a G, so it'll just be G, C, G, C, G, C, that's right at the bottom of my range, and then it goes to F, B flat, B, C, A, D, G, C, we're back at the written out part here, G, C, F, B flat, B, C, right? So I can do it at this point without any help, but of course, as you're learning to do this, you might not get it, you might need to check, so you might want to do it on the piano, G, C, G, C, G, C, and then work to the point where you're trying to get ahead of it a little bit. So instead of G, C, I'm playing the piano first, and then I'm finding the pitch when I match it. Instead, see if you can do G, C, G. So you're just checking yourself. C, G, C, F, B flat, B, C, A, D. That's where you want to get where, even if you still have to check yourself to make sure that you're not really wavering on the pitch, you can get ahead. One tip that I've heard, so if this seems impossible to you, there definitely are people out there, I'm sure, who feel this seems impossible. Step number 1 before you even try this is to be able to hold the tonic pitch in your mind. And this one's kind of a tricky one because it starts on the 2 chord rather than the 1. But if this seems impossible for you, what I would do is hear that tonic pitch and then play something else and see if you can get back to that tonic pitch. See if you can just hold that even as you play weird things, you can still find that tonic pitch. You've still got it in your head. I was a little bit off there, but I was pretty close. So that's, if this seems impossible, step 1 would just be able to really hold that tonic pitch in your mind, even when other things are happening. Because then from there, you can start building off of it. And then I would think about intervals. I'm not here to give you an overview of every single interval and how they sound orally, but I know that a lot of people find it helpful to associate intervals with songs, right? In this piece, we could go up a fourth or down a fifth in this bass line. Let's go up a fourth. often use "Here Comes the Bride" as their way to remember what a fourth sounds like. Or if it's the fifth, it doesn't work so well for a descending fifth, but as you think ascending, you could think Star Wars. Right? But a descending fifth, that sounds like every cadence known to man. So that should be a very familiar sound for everybody. So if this seems hard, what I would do is I would tackle intervals one by one. What does G to C sound like? Then what does C back to G sound like? So those would be your steps. Be able to keep a stable pitch, preferably the tonic, in your head. And then think interval by interval. And it's going to take repetition for some of you, right? This doesn't necessarily come easy. Okay, and then the next step is to be able to play the bass and sing the third. And this can get tricky because sometimes, especially in situations with 2 5s like this, you have odd intervals, right? Do is the third of G minor. That's the third of the C7. Do, do, da, do, bo, de, bo, de, do, do, ha. Should be an F sharp. Do, da, do, da, do, ga, bo, de, do. Okay, so I'm playing the root and I'm singing the third. Why is that important? So, first of all, the third is often a note that we're aiming for as we're improvising. Secondly, it tells you the sonority of the chords, and it's teaching you to hear notes above the root. Just as before, start playing and see if you can just match these pitches. For particularly hard intervals like this tritone, you might want to think about connecting them with a scale. That makes it less intimidating. So in your mind, you can hear right? That's part of the F major scale. So if you're holding that F in your head, and you don't necessarily have to go the same direction as the bass line. It could be I can't sing that high. Right? I'm so sorry you guys have to listen to me singing. So much less pleasant than listening to me playing. And of course, you could do this with some other intervals. For example, you could practice singing the sevenths above the root. That's trickier, right? Because thirds at least are consonant intervals. When you lock into it, it sounds good. But sevenths, those are intervals that kind of want to resolve. So it's going to sound dicier. So ba, do, da, do, da, do, da, 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 do. That's the seventh. I was singing the third. And then you could try singing guide tone lines. That gets a little bit easier, and that's also really useful because we often want to play through guide tone lines, and that helps us hear resolutions, right? If you don't know what guide tone lines are, I have a video called something like 5 Steps to Guide Tone Lines or something. But guide tone lines are basically alternating between sevenths and thirds to make a smooth melody. Ba-dum, ba-dum, da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, ba-ya-dum. Okay, so there's lots of singing to do. And then last step on singing with Honeysuckle Rose, and I have to admit, I stole this idea from a great vocalist named Janae Kendrick, who's awesome. Check her music out. But she had this idea that you want to practice connecting between the bass line and the thirds and whatever else you do in rhythm. And this is great because it forces you to hear the note in advance and hear how far you have to go to connect it, which is so key to being a good improviser. Remember, when we're an improviser, we're getting to a point and we're immediately thinking about leading into the next chord. People think, oh, I'm on F, I'm going to think about F. No, it's about where are you going, especially in those last 2 beats that you're improvising on any chord. You're thinking, where am I headed? Okay, so we can practice this orally. So I'm going to start with the bass line. Boom. And I'm going to connect it by step. I might get a little bit creative with some neighbor tones, but it'll be bo, do, do, do. Wait, that's too slow. Bo, bo, ba, do, do, ba, do, ba, 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 bo, ba, do, ba, ba, di, ba, do. Right, I connected from a high G down to C. Ba, da, ba, 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 da, do, do, ba, do, do, do. Ba, ba, do, do, ba, 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 do, da, do, ba, do, dum. Ba, da, ba, dum, ba, da, ba, dum, ba, da, do. Bo do do bo ba da 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 ba ba do 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 da bo. Okay, so everything was connected by a step. If I play it on the piano so you can hear it more clearly, maybe I was doing something like. And I'm always landing on either the root or the end of 4. So this isn't a thing where there's correct answers. You can choose to do it more quarter notes, more eighth notes. You could choose to use some more half steps and kind of chromatic stuff. You could choose to use more kind of diatonic scalar things. But it's really, really useful to think about where you're heading and how long you need to get there. So those are some ways to get to know harmony via singing, via training your ear. Now, of course, we want to also just be able to hear melodies through ear training. And so one really simple exercise is to sing, then play. Sing, then play what you sing. So, for instance, I might start on just a drone in C. And if this is going to be hard for you, I would decide on a first note. So let's start all of our phrases on C. And I'm going to sing, we'll start out with just 3-note phrases. Do, ba, dee. That one's pretty easy. Do, a deer. Bo, ya, da. Ma, we, ho. Bo, ha. All right, and then we can start some longer phrases. Do, ba, dee, ya, da, That's barely in my range. Okay, so I'm starting all my phrases on C, so I don't have to guess where I'm starting. Now, I often get the question, do you have to have perfect pitch to do this? And the answer is an emphatic no. Does it help? Yes. But here's a few things I would say about that. First of all, even if you're not getting the pitches exactly correct, just getting the rhythms and the shapes correlated is a huge step towards getting what's in your head out. And by continuing to practice and continuing to do interval work, you're going to get closer and closer zeroing in to playing what you sing. I know many people who don't have perfect pitch, but have developed such good relative pitch that it's essentially indistinguishable from somebody with perfect pitch. So perfect pitch, while fantastic, and hey, we love people with perfect pitch, it is not necessary to do an exercise with it like this. And don't freak out if what you're playing isn't matching what you're singing. Try to do better, but again, you want to be able to hear these basic things like steps, skips, ascending, descending, rhythm, how many notes, because what you're doing is you're forging a connection between what you're hearing internally and what you're hearing externally. once you're feeling good about starting on some different notes, then try starting wherever you hear it. I forget what I did. Right? And so I even started going outside of the C major scale. And then I would try to do the same thing over changes. Let's look back at, let's take those first 2 bars of Honeysuckle Rose. Okay, so it's great to transcribe other people. That helps your ear, but it doesn't actually help necessarily create a connection between what you're hearing and what you're playing. And that's what this exercise of singing and playing, and then playing what you sing, is doing. If you're frustrated because you keep messing this up, I would audio tape yourself, or whatever the modern equivalent is, voice memo yourself doing it, and then spend the time and be like, okay, what intervals am I missing? Maybe I'm getting half steps and whole steps confused, and then really focus in and do some really focused work on that. Or maybe it's, well, I keep on doing skips, but I'm playing them like they're steps. Okay, or maybe every time I play the ninth, every time I'm hearing the ninth, I play the seventh. This is all great data to try to get these things to align. And then, number 5 is such an important thing. It's to be able to sing a solo, first with the recording, and then the challenge is without the recording. And I wanted to include this because it's a big part of Lee Konitz's philosophy of jazz studying, is that before you even need to touch an instrument, you need to be able to sing some solos. And I know Lee often has his students working on Louis Armstrong solos as a first place to start, which is a great place to start because they're so melodic. Now, I wouldn't try with an Oscar Peterson solo. Chet Baker solos are great. Louis Armstrong solos are great. Charlie Parker stuff, just from a practical perspective, tends to get too notey, but it might be worth the effort because it's Charlie freaking Parker. Clifford Brown plays really melodically. Stan Getz plays really melodically. These would be some artists to start with. But, for example, Potato Head Blues is a Louis Armstrong solo that I don't know that I can sing for you because of range, but I'll try just because you're my YouTube audience. And if you've stuck with me long enough, then you haven't found my voice to be completely offensive and disgusting and vomit-inducing. So, da da da, it's an F, da da da, ba do do, ba ba do ba da da dum, ba bo bom, ba do ba dum, ba ba do ba do ba bom, bo ba ba do ba da ba bum, ba da ba da ba da ba da ba dum, do do ba do da ba ba do ba ba da da bum. Ba-da-ba-da-dum, ba-do-ba-da-ba-da-dum, ba-do-ba-da-bum, ba-bum-ba-ba-dum, ba-do-bum, ba-da, ba-do-ba-do-do-do, ba-ba-do-ba-da-ba-ba-yo-ba-da-bum, ba-da-ba-do-ba-ba-ba-dum, ba-yo-ba-do-ba-do, ba-ba-do-ba-da-ba-ba-do, ba-bo-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-ba, bum-bum-ba-da-ba-do-ba-da-da-do-a, ba-ba-ba-ya. That's kind of where the solo ends. So it went below my range. I was just mumbling some of the pitches instead of singing. But the fact that I know the rhythms, I know the shape, and I've got most of the pitches, man, that is such important information. Probably better than a year of theory study because you're getting actual music into your ear really deep in you. So is it easy? No. totally not easy, especially people come in with just all kinds of different levels in terms of their ear. And that's just life. I don't love the idea of talent, but in terms of your oral skills, some people come in with more talent than others. But wherever we start, we can each get better at it and get more information, get more in touch with that inner ear. So I hope that helped. I'm going to show these books one more time. Playing Solo Jazz Piano, Jazz Piano Fundamentals. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.